Hello, I'm in a game. Hello, I'm in a game. Hello, I'm in a video with my daddy.
What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to talk to Scale Model Outlaw from YouTube and Facebook. Seems like a pretty cool guy. I'm not going to be honest. I know him through the Hangouts, but I really don't know him very well. So we're going to get to see what he's all about today. Hopefully you guys enjoy the episode, and I'll see you at the end. What's going on, dude?
Hey, Josh, what's going on, man? Thank you for having us on. We appreciate you.
Right. So let's start with the channel name. Where's that come from?
Scale Model Outlaw. I own a one-to-one business. It's called Outlaw Off-Road and 4x4. So the Scale Model Outlaw is basically just a spin-off from that. Back in the day when I was much younger and much more carefree, I used to ride bulls, and we all thought we were a bunch of renegades, outlaws, and wanted to be legends. So I've got a couple tattoos, ones that said renegade, one that says outlaw, and I was going to get tattoo across what was at that time my abdomen. And I'm glad I didn't, because outlaw, they don't have enough ink to get it across my belly anymore. It's changed since it's changed since I was 24.
Right. Okay. No, that's cool.
But basically, after my one-to-one shop is the true answer to that.
No, that's cool. So with that being said, does the hobby conflict with with the business?
No, the hobby, honestly, and anybody small business owner, even people that work for other people that manage, it gets very stressful and very life gets stressful, right? So I use it the same way, the hobby the same way most people do. I come home and this is where I'm able to kind of tune all that other stuff out and relax, hang out in the hangouts and show off my stuff. So no, the hobby is a reprieve from the everyday stuff. The everyday stuff does give me a little bit, I feel like, a little bit of help as far as how it's supposed to look and what you see on one-to-one stuff to apply it to the kids.
No, that's cool. So for the most part, since you deal with cars, are you car guy, plane guy?
Definitely an automotive guy, car guy. My one-to-one shop, like some people know, it's a Jeep shop. We work on Jeeps pretty much exclusively and do all kinds of modifications to those. But definitely an automotive guy. King Bob has got me started on these egg planes. So I built my first egg plane and got into that pretty good. I got another one I'm doing now, but short of an egg plane, I've never done any, aircraft at all. If I did a military vehicle, it was probably a Jeep, and I did it as a Jeep, not the military side of it. So yeah, it's definitely automotive for me.
Yeah, no, the egg plane thing. I next week Charlie Mack will be on, so I'm definitely going to get his
Yeah,
input on what
Charlie
the
Mack's
group build
awesome, buddy.
is. Dude, I cannot wait for next week.
He
It's going to
that's
be
good.
super fun.
Now you got me excited about it. I'm more excited about it now than doing this one. I'm like, let's get Charlie Mack on here, not this boring guy.
Right. Well, I'll go over this at the end, but it's Charlie Mack and Jeff.
Oh, nice. That should be very entertaining.
Right. So yeah. But anyway, let's no, that's pretty cool. You've also got a bunch of kids behind you. What's some of the cool stuff that you've built?
I've got a few that I've built here, but probably the latest release that I've gotten done, not probably the latest release I've gotten done is my 54 Hudson. Um, you may have been, if you're following along on the YouTube, you seen me different phases of this car. Um, I picked this kid up in JaxCon this year. It's a 54 Hudson, Mobius 54 Hudson. And I had found, and it's going to be very difficult to see, if you look at the back tires on that thing, they're like crazy wide. and they're
Whoa.
big. They came off of a die-cast car. So I'm walking around my local thrift shop, and I find this Mustang that is a die-cast car, and it's got these big tires on it. And I see it, and I'm like, I got to have that, and I've got to put them. That's got to go on something. And in my mind, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And then I went to JacksCon and found the Hudson. I'm like, that's perfect for what I want to do. So the tires are, like I said, are off a diecast KR 500 Mustang. The kit's a Mobius 54 Hudson. The motor is a Iceman Collections V10. And the interior is basically stock. It's got a couple Bride bucket seats and an aftermarket steering wheel and the old school Hurst shifters. The old what do they call it? Like the Mopars had the big wooden handle gun pistol grip. That's the word I'm looking for, pistol grip. So, but other than that, it's pretty much stock. We painted it up. The green is a 1952 Oriental green from Hudson, and then the internal is a sea foam, or they call it surf green. That's also a Hudson color as well.
So wait. So are those the actual like color coded for like the
Yes.
little paint?
Yes. If you look over, where is it? Right underneath that light right there, all them different bottles that say scale finishes. One of my great sponsors that we appreciate is scalefinishes.com. And if you go onto their website and click under automotive colors, it'll pull up all the different manufacturers. So if you know that you want a 1967 Ford Blue, so you go to their website, automotive colors, go to Ford, click on it, go to the year, and it'll pull up the paint codes, and you pick out that color. And yes, they are paint coded to match that particular one. So when I found this one, I didn't know what color I wanted to do. I just went to Hudson and I scrolled through the different colors and picked out two colors that I liked that contrasted each other, but they were both originally Hudson colors.
Okay. No,
And they,
that's cool.
yeah, and they got all kinds of different, every manufacturer you can think of. You know, obviously, the farther back you go, the little harder it gets to find some things, but it's in there. Mopar, you know, the Hemi Orange, it's kind of the same idea as MCW. I like MCW paints as well. But I think they're a little easier to find on the scalefinishes.com site because just because I navigate it more and know how to do it more.
So what type of paint is that? Is it
You've got base coat and you've got the enamels. The base coat is basically a single coat. If you didn't want to put a clear over it, or yeah, I'm sorry, the enamel is a you don't have to put a clear coat over it if you don't want to. It has. It also takes a little bit longer to dry, but you don't necessarily have to put a clear coat over it. For the base coat, it's recommended that you put a clear of some sorts over it. I put clear over everything. They offer 2K clear, so I put clear over everything. But like I said, enamel basically you don't have to put a clear coat on it. It does when it dries, it does leave a nice shine to it.
well, that's cool. I haven't really even though that company's on the West Coast, I've heard of them, but I've never really used any of their products. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I've been on their site. I mean, it's easy to navigate. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And they even do like tools and stuff, if I remember right.
Yeah, is it Fixolite, the sandpapers and different pipettes and that sort of thing. And for your listeners and your viewers, if they go there and they want to check them out, be sure and use the Outlaw 10. It's Outlaw 10 in capital letters, get you a 10% discount. But yeah, they have all kinds of. Basically, when I shout them out on my channel, it's all your paint and supply needs, man. They got just about everything you're going to need: sandpapers, flocking, um, motor colors, body colors, racing colors are big with Salvinos. Um, they're all their racing colors in there as well. So, and they're just real. Mr. Jameson is a really cool guy, and he's been very helpful to my channel. And we love giving him support because he supports us.
So you've done the Hudson. So
Yep.
what other type of cars do you like doing?
If you that picture of the dot, my favorite cars to do are the dirt cars. I am a huge dirt car guy. I come from a family of dirt racers. My brother is drives the Northeast Modified and is a big time racer up there. His other sides of the family, just a whole bunch of us are all dirt car racing people. I've never raced personally, but I grew up around it. So dirt cars will always have my heart. But I'm a big time short track guy. I like the guy that works all day at the gas station, or he works all day at the plumbing shop, and then on the weekends he goes racing. He's up till midnight every night, beating and banging on his race car, trying to get it ready for the next weekend. And if you don't mind me plugging it, that's our group build as well. Myself and Jason Hanscom from Blue Ox Model Shop are currently hosting a Saturday night under the lights, or Saturday night short track is the name of it. Saturday night short track, but it's a group build, and we'd love to have anybody that's interested in building a car for like a short track car, or basically anything you would see at a short track on Saturday night. Your local short track, whether it be dirt or asphalt. No NASCARs or anything like that. No big name teams, if you will. But uh, come one, come all. About the only thing somewhere between Smash Up Derby and NASCAR. Anything in that gap, it qualifies.
Right. No,
Right.
here in the town I live in, that's one of our biggest revenues is the dirt track.
Oh, really? Cool.
And yeah, like from 6 o'clock to almost 1 o'clock, you can go outside and you can just hear the races. And I live all the way on the other side of town. So
Well, we
it's
were trying to maybe encourage people that maybe either have been interested or have been and then haven't been in a while, to get them back to getting out and going to a local short track. I mean, it's like a little kind of a small fair type thing every time you go. It's kind of that same atmosphere, and get people to get out, go have fun, and maybe get inspired to do one too.
right. And then you get the monster trucks here and you get the 4x4 competition here because it's dirt track.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
no, it's super cool. I really enjoy that kind of stuff sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
You don't
So
enjoy it at 1 o'clock when you're trying to go to sleep and you hear the roar of a V8 running by your window.
to be honest, even though I live all the way across town, it's crazy how loud that stuff is.
Open
Like
headers, though.
literally, I mean, it sounds like it's just down the street, and it's there's a lot of stuff between me and that racetrack, and it doesn't sound like it's right outside.
That's
Crazy.
funny. Yeah, I'm probably about 8 miles from my local speedway. We're blessed enough to where I think we got enough trees between here and there. I very, very seldom hear them out there running. But I was lucky enough to grow up here in Central Florida. I literally live in the same town where Don Garlitz has his drag racing museum. So for me to go to that I've been there probably half a dozen times. It's been a lot of years since I've been there, but I've been there at least half a dozen times. Then we got Gainesville for a dragway right north of me, and then this circle track is here. Barberville is just east of me. So I'm surrounded by really good racing, and I was fortunate enough to have that coming up in my life, and it just affected me so much. Even when I lived up in Vermont when I was a kid, and that's where my brother lives now. And like I said, he's a racer up there. But I even then, with the family, we were going every Saturday night and sitting on the benches and watching cars go around and around and digging the dirt out of your eye.
Yeah, for sure. That was not a church close kind of
No, it
event.
was not a church close thing. No, definitely not. And then you'd hide out in the car if it started raining. You'd hide out in the car and hope that it stopped. And then if it didn't, you had to drive all the way back home in the rain. But definitely cool times hanging out with the family. I remember being little and me and my cousins just running around like wild Indians at that little track called Devil's Bowl in Fairhaven, Vermont. It's just a little puny track, but there's a lot of fun, a lot of memories.
Oh, that's cool. That must be what Jeff's talking about. Devil's
Yeah,
Bowl.
Devil's Bowl Speedway. Jeff's very familiar with it. Jeff is a big time guy up there with the racing. He knows a lot of people up there.
No, it's super cool, and it's actually kind of cool that there's kits of some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the Petty back in the day, and I'll probably misspeak a little bit, but the Petty family back in the day built cars that were at least sponsored by or had backing of by Mopar, and you could literally go and to one of the Petty enterprises and buy a Dodge Dart or a Duster that it had, in different levels. You could buy just the chassis, you could buy the body, you could buy it without the motor, whatever you wanted, or you could buy a ready to run race car. And AMT reproduced them or put them out, and I've got a bunch of them. And then there's all different companies that make them. I'm looking at a lot of AMT stuff, some MPC stuff, Lindbergh. Depending on what it is exactly you're looking for, there's a bunch of dirt cars available, and they're not necessarily dirt cars, but Herd Hobbies makes probably the most detailed kit. It's a little pricey, but it ought to be for what's in there. I mean, there's a lot of really, really nice stuff in there. And Wes's Model Car Corner, he makes some really good, affordable asphalt modifieds that are really nice. Fortunate enough to have a few of his kits as well. And of course, there's the 3D stuff out there too. There's Chrysler kit cars, KRD. You're right. Um, and of course, there's a bunch of 3D printed stuff out there as well.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy on the detail and stuff, and even the 3D printed side of it. It's crazy how all that stuff works.
Exactly. We were fortunate enough in our group build, Ron Kuhn from Ron Kuhn Resins. We were fortunate enough to get him on board with us for the first month of the build. He makes formed. I don't know a lot about them, but it's formed body, vacuum formed bodies, and he makes a lot of 3D resin parts. Ron's very much a one-to-one dirt guy, so he knows what it's supposed to look like. If it goes on a dirt car and it's specific for a dirt car, he knows what it's supposed to look like. So he makes a lot of really, really cool stuff. And if you're interested in the group build, I know I'm sending plugs here, but if you're interested in the group build and you want to check out his website, he's offering us a 10% discount for the month of May for this month only. But he's offering 10% discount on anything for the group build as well. But great
No,
stuff. I mean, it's out there and it's just awesome stuff.
no, I mean it's super cool, all the group builds and stuff that are out in the YouTube community too.
Yeah. I laugh at Jason because I remember, and I think, actually, I watched a video this morning where Mr. Mark Batson said the same thing. The beginning of the year, hey guys, I'm sending this video out now. I don't want anybody to be offended, but I'm not getting into a bunch of group builds. I did that last year. And if you watch Jason's and Mark's, for that matter, video about the short track group build, they both went that one out the window. Everybody's doing it. And of course, we're happy to have everybody on board. But I had been kicking the idea around, and then I talked to Jason, who I've never done a group build, so I want to make sure I'm clear on that. And I needed somebody who had done it, had more experience, could help point me in the right direction. And Jason was willing to help, so we hooked our little red wagons to each other, and we're going to try to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean and Jason's a really, I mean he does a couple of them throughout the year. I think one of them's with BG.
The ones
And
that I know
that
of that
whole
he's doing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk out.
right,
That whole the whole podcast is doing. They just announced they're doing a Porsche build.
right.
And of course, Jason does his Street Machine build, which I think starts next month, maybe the month after. But what we did with the group build, our group build, is we made it from May 1st to May 1st. So it's a whole year, and should give people that want to be involved plenty of time to be able to, do what they need to do. It's a whole year. And the only reason we put a year cap on it is we'd like to do another one, second annual May 1st next year. So we got to close up one to start another.
No, that's cool. These ones that are like 3 months, it just seems like I either get started late and I don't get it finished, or I get like one done real quick, and then it's like now I'm waiting for everybody else to catch up.
Yeah, that's me. I'm currently working on my motorcycle build for Cliff and Jamie G's bike build, and I've never built a bike before. And on top of that, I'd never worked with what do they call it, hydro dipping. So I took both of those on at the same time, and now that's literally one. When I get to a point on one where I start either trying to rush through it or cut corners, I know it's time to put it away so I don't screw it up or I don't end up with a end product that I don't like. So that one's been put in a box and it's under here. And then I've also got the group build of seniors memorial build that we've been working on. Which, if you don't mind, I'll show a little bit of it. I got it kind of mocked up here a little bit. This is the Boot Hill Express kit, but it's probably unlike any other Boot Hill Express that you're ever going to see. First, it's powered by a twin turbo 12 valve Cummins, and it's going to have 49-inch TSL Super Swamper tires. It's 4-wheel drive. It's going to have an extended wheelbase, 1-ton axle, coilovers, and it's the Boot Hill Express. I've seen some guys do some really cool work with the Boot Hill, but I've never seen anyone put a reverse. I had to flip the motor around, so the motor's facing backwards to be able to get it to work. But I've never seen anybody build a 4-wheel drive Boot Hill Express, so I'm excited about getting that. We're mocking it up now, and then we'll blow it all apart and paint it up and have some fun with it. But yeah, 49-inch TSLs and a twin turbo Cummins and a Boot Hill is a little different, I think.
Yeah, that'll go 0 to 60 in any kind of environment.
Exactly. Uphill, downhill, over rocks.
Right. That's
the
like
idea. You and I guess if it was a 1-to-1 build, you'd have to be a brave soul to drive it because you're going to be up there.
right.
But we got a 4-link suspension all set up for it. In fact, last night and Brian's live, I was working on some links and getting everything tied together. But this one will be fun. Trying to keep up with Pork Chop. He's built some amazing off-road stuff. And I'm sure I'm not as good as he is, but I'll do my best to try to compete with him.
Yeah, good luck on that.
Right. I know, right?
Josh is on a different level. I'm not even gonna lie. He definitely is good at what he does.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. He's building that one from scratch. He's only used like a couple pieces, like the shock towers and the fuel tank or something, about the only pieces on it that are kit. And it's some sort of it's supposed to mimic some sort of Viking ship, if I remember him telling us right. And it's got styrene everywhere. In fact, somebody made the joke last night that there's no styrene available for the rest of us builders because he has it all up there with him.
Right.
No. Anyways, yes, yeah. That's cool. And it's those guys like that are the talented, and there's a lot of them out there. I mean, Brian and Fred and Jason, all these guys that can take something, see something in their mind and build it. You know, I mean, like Pappy says, if you can dream it, you can build it. You know, I get so impressed with those guys that are able to do all that. And honestly, I try to push my boundaries instead of just putting the kit together as it comes. Try to do something different, and you can do that in a little bit at a time, like that hydro dipping thing. I'd never messed with that, so it was cool to be able to try it out, figure it out, get some advice, learn about it, and if nothing else, I'll know how to do it for something down the road. I think it'll work pretty good. I'm a little concerned about like trying to do a body or something. The scale is off on it because it's made for like, you know, motorcycle full size stuff, and it's not really made for scale stuff. So it's a little difficult to get the scale right on it, but we'll figure it out. One way or another, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I like out of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? The tie-dye colors.
Mm-hmm.
I think that works in our hobby.
Sure.
Because they haven't quite come out with the film. What do they call it? That film paper or whatever of the designs. They haven't quite figured that out for modeling kits yet.
Yeah, there's some stuff like I've got the Scale Motorsports hydrocarbon water slide decals, which are great. That's good stuff, but they don't like to get around corners. It doesn't fit like the hydro dip. But the problem with the hydro dip carbon fiber, it's the print is so much bigger that if you put, the only way it really wouldn't even work on like a body because the print is, like I said, it's designed for like a motorcycle or something. It's not scaled down. So if they could ever scale it down, I believe they'd really find a market for us to be able to use it. Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, unless you have a hood this big, you know, for like an RC body.
Yeah. Yeah, they
But
definitely use them a lot on RC stuff, and yeah, I suppose you could probably use it on maybe on the 1/16th or maybe a 1/12 scale kit or something like that. It would be all right. And
yeah.
it's a trick to figure out, just like anything else. It's a technique, and you figure it out and make it work. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool medium. You just got to figure out how to make it work for the smaller stuff.
So let's get into tools a little bit. Okay.
Absolutely. I just picked up a new tool from Despy or Despay. I don't know how to pronounce it. In the
I
chat,
think
we'll
it's
probably. Is it Despay? Okay. We'll call it Despay. This is a little sander tool. Hang on, let me get it out of its case. But it's a cool little sander tool. It's a little bit, probably about the same size as a big marker. But what you can do with it is it's got different tips that go on it. You put these tips on it, and then there's a sandpaper that come. Well, this isn't the sandpaper. This is just a advertisement of what size they offer. But you get little pieces of sandpaper that go on there, and it oscillates back and forth, and you can turn it down, turn it up. And I like it because you can get into tight spots with it, and you don't get, your fingers don't get in the way. You're not bumping everything. You just kind of get in there real detailed with it, and you could just sand what you need to sand with it. That's a pretty cool tool. I picked this up on probably Amazon, if I'm being honest, and I don't remember. I want to say it was in the $50-$60 range, but it's rechargeable, and it comes with a bunch of different tips for different sizes and whatever. And then the sandpaper is sold separately. But neat little tool that I just found. I'm kind of getting more and more of the desk space stuff. I started out with this little tool for basically it's a small size, and I know there's another company out there that might be a little cheaper. Um, but it's basically a small size Dremel that you can control the speed on. You got slow and medium and a little bit faster. But what I found with this one, first, it's a lot smaller and lighter than working with a full size Dremel. And where a Dremel, if it hooks and takes off, it can tear up some stuff. For this
Right.
one, more often than not, it'll bind up in your plastic or bind up before it takes off. Not that it won't do it, it just won't do it as easily as in my opinion, it won't do it as easily as the big Dremel. And it's just a lot easier to handle, and it's quick and easy. I mean, even my Dremel, which is battery operated as well, but you compare that to this as far as handling goes and being able to handle it's quite a bit easier to handle this one. Now, this one can do a lot more work if you're doing, like on the Ron Coon bodies that have you when they come vacuum formed, you got to trim out around the wheel wells, around the bottom of it and whatnot. This will do a lot more work, a lot faster for sure. But when you start sticking this in to clean out around the windows and cut the windows out, gets a little cumbersome. That's where this little guy comes in handy.
Well, and if you really think about it, the red one is actually meant for our hobby.
It is. It's designed and built for
And
our
the
hobby.
normal is made for like
Everything.
resharpening a lawnmower blade.
Right.
Like it's meant for heavier duty stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's no, that's super cool. Yeah, I know Brett at High Altitude Hobbies has almost all he can get all the display stuff. So that's where I've seen a lot of that stuff from.
That's cool. I didn't know that he could get that. I've been getting it, and I'm not a huge supporter of Amazon or eBay or any of them. We had a conversation about eBay. I try to support the mom and pop guys, especially if it's a hobby shop. But you got to think about pricing too. But at the same time, I didn't know of anybody. I just stumbled across this piece looking for something smaller, and I stumbled across it. It was fair price, so I bought it, and I had good luck with it, and I liked it. So I've been looking for their products ever since. But I just assume buy it from a hobby shop as to buy it from somebody in Japan or wherever. So
Well,
I'll definitely write that down.
and the cool thing with High Altitude Hobbies is he's in Colorado, so he's in the middle of the country. So it's not
It's just
not
either way,
far.
right? Yeah, shipping either way. Isn't he the guy? And I may be stepping out of bounds here, but isn't he the guy that's supposed to start handling the Outlaw paint line?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I knew I'd heard that name before.
right. Supposedly, yes. I haven't checked back in with Brett to see if he actually got it. I know it was kind of tied up in like Denver or something.
I watched a live. I think it was Brian's live, and Brian had him on cam. And I want to say that they had him for some reason. They had him in purgatory at a shipyard somewhere or something. They were waiting for some. I
It's
don't. I
it's
don't.
it's at the international airport there in Denver,
Okay. Okay, is that what it is? Okay.
right? Because it's it coming from Australia and then it gets to LA, or went straight to Denver, and now it's in customs there.
Okay.
It's
I knew there was some sort of hang up with it. I didn't know exactly what it was. But
yeah, I'm really I hope Brett gets it here pretty soon, or someone in the U.S. gets it pretty soon, because I want to see some of these car guys start using that stuff. It's
yeah, I've
super easy.
previewed.
So
Yeah, I previewed the website and the colors look really good. The swatches that they put out for the colors look really good. I'm interested. And listen, just because I'm sponsored by scalefinishes.com doesn't mean that I don't use other paints. I'm currently, well, behind you guys as the camera is every, probably every Tamiya color you can think of, because I'm one of those guys, if I've got one and I like it, I got to have them all. And I love the Tamiya paints as well. I've got 50 or 60 of the MCWs. Just because I'm sponsored by one company doesn't mean I don't use other people's stuff. The only thing
right.
I won't use anymore is Army Painter. That stuff is junk. I
Hey
started
now,
out using that. That's
hey
junk.
now. Let's calm down with that.
Well, let me say this. I had bad luck with it in the automotive world. That being said, their airbrush stuff I had really good luck with. The picture of the dart that you posted up to advertise for this interview, that red
Yeah,
one, that's
yeah.
actually painted. That's Dragon Blood Red from airbrush paint uh, from Army Painter. So let me retract my statement in that their airbrush. I had good luck with their airbrush paints. I didn't have any good luck with the rest of it.
See, for me, I bought the new formulated stuff.
I've heard that there's been stuff. I bought all my stuff at the beginning of the year, not long after the speed paints came out, and but I heard they come out with a new formula.
Right. So yeah, I have the new form. There was a time where I did not like Army Painter, but yeah, no, they changed all the formulas around probably 2-3 years ago. And if you get some of the old paint, it is some of the chalkiest crap on the planet.
It is.
Well, the new stuff isn't bad. I love the airbrush stuff. The airbrush stuff and the speed paints, I think, are probably some of the best miniature paint out there. But you
And
know,
part of the problem might have been my application as far as I was trying to use it. The speed paints, especially, they're designed for miniatures. They're not designed for painting exhaust, where you're expecting it to look one way out of the bottle, and then you lay it down, and it does what it's supposed to do. It's almost like a panel liner, to where it chases the corners and creates shadows and does highlights. I wasn't expecting that when I got it. I
right.
didn't realize that that's what it did. So again, it could have been on me, but that straight acrylic stuff was pretty chalky. It was pretty chalky stuff.
No, I mean it's super cool. Yeah, how they've improved that. What other paints do you use other than those stuff?
Um, I got started on the scale finishes because I was looking for some pre-ready paint, but I do have a fair amount of the Alclad paints, and like I said, the MCWs. And my old school butt just can't get rid of the tester stuff. I've got the little glass bottles of tester that sits on the very top shelf of my rack up here. I never use them. The old school enamels that take a week to dry and then they're still tacky. I got every one of those, or not every one, but I've got a bunch of those. Um, as far as primers go, I do like the Tamiya, and anything Tamiya is going to be good because it's expensive, but it's designed for our hobby, so it's good stuff. I love their primers, Mr. Hobby primers, Mr. Hobby fillers. Use all same stuff everybody else is using. It just I got a little bit of everything, and like I said, I still have the airbrush, the Army Painter airbrush stuff. I still use it on occasions because of the colors. They got some really, really neat and different colors that I like. But it's just you got to somehow I like them now for interior because of the finish when they're sprayed. It's kind of a dull color, but it looks really good for interiors. And you can come up with something that's completely off the wall or completely different than anybody else. because it's not the Tamiya LP73 or the XF5 or whatever. It's something completely different.
No, it's yeah, that craft acrylic stuff. I think it's more for like interior stuff, for the automotive stuff. I mean, it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah,
I'll tell you something else that I got. I'm sorry, I don't mean to dip off camera like that, but I almost forgot. I started using these inks, and I'm not sponsored by these guys. I got it from Joann's or Michael's. Michael's, I believe.
that
This
one's from
stuff
Hobby Lobby is where
was
I
it.
get mine from
Okay,
those.
it might have been Hobby Lobby. This is some really neat stuff, but it works really good. You can shoot it right out of the dipper into the airbrush, but just be really careful about touching it afterwards. It will come right off on your hand if it's something that you're going to put and then put a coat over, a clear coat or a dull coat over. Really cool stuff. And what I like, because it's kind of cheap, you can get it, and I'm pretty sure I got it at Michael's because they had an online thing that was like 30% off. And I used it to practice on my brush because it's my airbrush when I first got them, because it's super easy to clean up. It's kind of like acrylic paint. Well, all acrylic paints are a lot easier to clean up than all
So
the St. Sullivan's.
I have a bunch of those. Have you when you're in Michael's and they have those, and then there's the Liquitex
I've
inks.
seen the Liquitex.
The Liquitech inks are so much better.
Oh, really?
So much better.
Okay, I'll be looking at them then. Because like I said, I used that black one. I forget what I painted with it, but I used that black one and I really liked it. And after that, I went back and bought one of every one they had. But the Liquitex is literally right across the hall or right across the aisle from this brand. So I'll be looking into them next. Thanks. Appreciate that. Now I get to go spend more money.
No, but like just the one that I really like is the silver, because you lay that first and then whatever color. Oh man, you can make
It's
a
good
body
business.
jump with just doing that.
Sweet. But yeah, we just, I mean, I'm all about trying something new, and then if I like it, use it. You know what I mean? That's part of what I think the hobby is about, is to be able to, not even if it's not a paint or a glue or whatever, if it's something new that you saw somebody do, different flocking or whatnot, and try it. What the heck, right? Just check it out and expand on your skills.
Yeah. So since we're into the paint stuff, what airbrushes are you using to paint all that?
That's a laundry list. I'll start from what I started with and what I'm getting away from, but only because I'm graduating. I started right out with the old Harbor Freight Special. In fact, I still use that compressor. I get people telling me all the time to stop using it because it supposedly builds up water. I haven't had a water issue with it, but I'm still using the compressor. But I started out with that kit that you buy from Harbor Freight with the little airbrush. Now with it, I didn't paint any kits with it, but that's what I practiced with to get the muscle memory, to get the, go around corners. I was painting spoons just like everybody else does, And then I stepped up to, I'm currently using the Gallery 68 to lay my primers down with. And then I've got a Posh Talon, not a Posh Talon, it's a Talon, whoever makes the Talon. And then for my clear coats, especially after watching Pappy's video there, Pappy last night on the live, I have the Swallowtail with the 5 millimeter and the fan. I'm gonna start spraying my clear coats through that. I need to practice with it first, but I'm gonna start spraying at least my clear coats through there, if not my color coats through that as well.
So how do you like that new gallery or whatever that?
It's pronounced Gallery. I've practiced with the Swallowtail, so I can't really give you any. I like it, but it's definitely going to take me some. I'm not efficient with it yet. I can still outperform myself with the 68, which is their kind of entry level model. It's the same kind of brush, more or less, only there's more technology in the Swallowtail. So I keep practicing with my Swallowtail to get ready to start using it on cars. I'm still painting spoons with it, but I can see where it's going to be a much, much better brush, and everybody I've spoken to absolutely loves it. And it's guys that, you know, are way more airbrush savvy than I am, but they absolutely love it. So I'm trying to get myself to a position to where I'd like to have one swallowtail for color and one swallowtail for clear coat.
Yeah, it's that company I think has been out for like a year, maybe. And
Something like that.
it seems like everybody is just falling in love with that airbrush.
Yeah, it's I can see where they would. Like I said, I'm not efficient with it, so I really can't speak to it, but I can see the difference immediately with the 68 to it. You know, you can lay down some paint with that fan and that 5 mil or '05 needle. You can lay down some paint with it. It's a cool brush. I just got to get better at it. One day, my goal is one day to be able to, like I said, have one of each, one for color and one for clear, and be efficient with it. But that's just a little bit of practice, and we'll get there.
Well, and the cool thing is you can kind of see the effect that this company's having because all the Iwatas and stuff just dropped in price because this guy set it at like a very
Yeah.
low rate. And you're starting to see Badger, Iwata, Posh prices starting to come down a little bit because of it, because everybody's moving to those airbrushes. Well, at least that's what
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen.
what I've seen too. That's what all the feedback I'm getting back. And then is it Barbados Rex or Rex Barbados when he got involved, because there's two swallowtails. There's the original one, and then there's the one that Barbados Rex got involved with, and that's the one I have. And
And I
yeah,
think
but like you said, everybody says the same thing. Brian, you know, he just typed that out there. He said the same thing. Somebody like Brian is telling you that they're happy with an airbrush. That's somebody to listen to, because that's a man who's more than just efficient with an airbrush. He's amazing with an airbrush.
you're right. But I think the Barbados Rex one is a 0.3 or a 0.2.
You get three needles. You get the
Right.
3, the 5, and the 7. That's all 0.3, 0.5, 0.7. But the only one that the fan works with, unless I'm mistaken, according to the directions, let me put it that way. According to the directions, the only one that fan works with is the 0.5. Is what the directions on the for the fan said.
Oh, okay. I
And
didn't know
maybe
that.
that was just when I purchased mine a few months ago, so maybe it's changed since then. But it says use only with the 0.5. It's a great brush though. Just need to get more efficient with it. With all these group builds coming up, I'm going to have no choice. I'm going to have an airbrush in each hand.
Oh no, Brian says the 0.7 is for the fan.
Okay, maybe I misspoke there. Maybe it's the 0.7 for the fan.
Yeah, cost of airbrushes are seriously overblown. Yeah, go look at a Micron, and then that's why I bought a Sotar 2020. You know, it's like I totally agree with that. Not spending $500 for an airbrush. I don't care
Yeah, me
exactly
either.
what it does.
No, me either.
I,
And of
you
course, we got the air booth in here that run out the window like everybody else has got. I can't paint outside with the humidity the way it is. My paint jobs will look like they've been sweating. I mean, you spray it out there, even in the garage or whatever. The humidity is just so bad. So we were fortunate enough to have enough space to put the spray booth in, and that helps a lot. So keeps
did
the
you make
humidity
one or
down.
did you buy one?
Oh, I bought one. It's an eBay or Amazon special, one of them $140 ones, $150 ones, whatever it was. And then I had to buy an extra tube for it to put it where I wanted it, and the tube be able to reach the window. I had to buy an extra tube for it, but it works good. It's one with little lights all the way around it, and the two fans in the back, and it's not a fancy waterfall one. I'd like to have one of those, but that seems like a lot of money for a place to paint. When this actually works, I just have to change filter more.
Yeah, I have the Micro Mart, I think. I have one of theirs. I think now I did not spend $500 for it, but I think now I want to say close to $1,500, but you get like a year's supply of the paper and the filter
Right.
and yeah, and I only spent $60 because someone had passed away and
Yeah.
they were
Yeah,
selling for the
I
cheap.
can I can definitely relate to somebody passing away and landing on some deals. I gotta get rid of all these model kits I was telling you about.
Yeah, see, Brian says the is now $100. I bought mine 4 years ago for 130.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you can buy that swallowtail with 3 needles, even without the fan. The fan is, or at least was when I was buying, was sold separately. And you can buy that swallowtail if you catch the right deal for 119. It's got 3 different needles in it, everything you need to do the job, replacement. They got extra O-rings in there. And that's what I liked about the gallery too. Even their cheaper airbrushes will come with a couple extra O-rings and just little pieces and parts to be able to, if you have a screw up or cut, nick, or O-ring, they give you a couple extras and a little gasket that goes in the end and all that.
It's been a while since I've looked at them, but I know when they first started coming out, they were, I think, under $70 for both those airbrushes.
Could very well have been when they first hit the. I
Right.
remember the first time I saw them, they were 109, and I think they're like 119 now, but I could be wrong. It's been a minute since I looked at them. Well, since I bought mine, I haven't looked at another one since because I've got to wait.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool. So you were gonna plug a couple sponsors that you deal with.
Oh yeah, I
Or did
thank
it,
you for that. I thank you for that. We did the scale finishes. We talked about Ron Kuhn. If you're in the group build, Ron Kuhn Resins, he's offering us 10% off of his stuff if you're in the group build, and for which will be our Saturday night short track group build. And then my old go-to, IcemanCollections.com. We do not have a discount code anymore. He's put a kibosh to that for a while, but he's regrouping and says probably by the end of June that we will have something that'll be bigger, better, and badder. So we're looking forward to that. But basically, IcemanCollections.com, ScaleFinishes.com, and for the group build, Ron Kuhn Resins. Thank you for letting me do that. And I'm sure Fafa's got something funny to say about all that because he picks on me every time I do it. Jeff made a video the other day where I'd send him a shop card and it was like Mr. 10% off himself. I'm like, yeah, that's me, Mr. 10% off. But when I talked to those guys originally, both Ron and, or excuse me, both Jameson and Joel from Iceman and Jameson from Scale Finishes, they asked, what do you expect out of a sponsor? I'm like, just give my viewers 10% off, if they can, and give me a 10% off code. So that's what we did. And we're hoping to be able to spread the word for their products and get the viewers a break on some prices.
It's kind of crazy how sponsorships works now in our community, because it seems like some of them, they're really cool about helping, but it's only certain channels, and it's kind of a weird dynamic now.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I got both, and I'm wearing my Iceman shirt, by the way. I got both of these sponsors by reaching out to them. I started with Mr. Jameson at Scale Finishes. I was using his paint, was very happy with it, and wanted to reach out to him and ask if I could use his logo on one of my videos. I didn't want to make him mad, or I didn't want to, I didn't know if there'd be some encroachment or whatever. So I reached out to him and asked him, could I use it? And he, in the meantime, before responding, went to my channel and apparently checked it out. And his wife was really impressed by how I had things organized in my hobby room. Right, I'd done a video of the hobby room, and she was impressed with how organized it was. He said, "Not only can you use he emailed me back. Not only can you use my logo, but here's a 10% code for your viewers. Give them 10% off." And Iceman actually has a spot on his website that if you go to his website, he if you're doing a fundraiser, or you have a charity group or something, reach out to him, or you want sponsorship, reach out to him and he'll see if he can help you. Now, like I said, I know right now he's not taking on anymore, but he sponsors the Scale Model podcast with Jason and Lucas C and BG and Chuck, and he sponsors myself, and he's currently sponsoring Blue Ox too, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but so I know he's, like I said, I know he's got everything on hold right now, but he's going to come back at the end of June, bigger, better, and better.
Right. It's just interesting how all that works.
Yeah,
It
that's there. It's got to be their mindset and what they find interesting. I feel like Jameson got on because I reached out to him and the page was growing. I didn't have. It couldn't have been because of my content because I was brand new to doing it and I sucked. Just being completely honest with you, I sucked at it. Probably still do, but he either saw something there that he liked and he got on board with it. And same way with Iceman. There's a lot of people that would love to be able to have Iceman collections for a sponsor. I am floored, flattered, and honored to have him have both of them. But
right.
whatever they choose is what they choose. I guess it boils down to it's their company. They can choose who they want to.
Very, very true. It's an interesting dynamic to say the least when you go to start doing some of that stuff. Um, I know there for the longest time I was trying to set up like an Amazon page, and that's a whole dynamic that I was gonna try to do it, and then once I got kind of into it, it's like that's a lot of work.
That's what I was told, especially about these kits that between the Amazon and eBay, like we were talking off cam. That's way more than I want to handle. I don't. No, I don't know that I could. I don't know that my mental capacity could handle that. I'd probably just start smoking out my ears or something if I tried to figure all that out.
Well, and it's the amount of work for the little bit of money that you're gonna get out of it, right?
Yeah, the juice
And
ain't
that's
worth the squeeze.
that's that's realistically business 101. But
Right.
I mean, when you're already working a full-time job and family and you don't want to, you know, I'm not quite there.
Well, what I found is, but like I said, with these kits that I'm trying to help my friend out with, um, it takes away from my actual building time and getting down here. I've compounded more. I don't want to say stress because I'm helping out my friends and helping out a friend, and I enjoy doing it. But I'll be glad when it's over. That way, there I can get back to my desk and start relaxing and having fun. But yeah, we're what used to be my build time. Now I'm spending time like last night on the lives. I wanted to listen and be in on the live, so I set the camera up in my garage and I was bringing everybody's kits in and organizing them, putting them on a rack. At least then I could listen to the live and feel like I was or pretend that I was at my desk.
Right.
But,
No, I totally understand that. I totally understand.
yeah, it's supposed to be a hobby, not work. So that's what I keep telling myself. As long as it's still a hobby, then we're having fun. That's all that matters. In the end, that's why we're here to have fun, enjoy each other, and honestly, the live thing is, or the live and the whole YouTube thing is, as far as modeling goes, is new to me. I'm less than 2 years into it. I think if the end of this year will mark my the beginning of my second year, or excuse me, the beginning of my third year. I didn't know anything about these lives. I hear people talk about the old days when guys like Pepe were hosted on Friday. I came in about the time I was fortunate enough to meet Senior on the live on one of his lives before he got sick. But it wasn't long after I started coming into that he got sick and we lost him. And then Fred was doing his Friday night thing. So, I'm relatively new to all that. My YouTube channel is, I don't even think it's a year old yet. It might, if it is, it's just barely a year old.
Well,
So,
yeah, it doesn't seem like you've been on for very long. That
yeah,
that was kind of where I was leading with this whole thing is, you're fairly seem like you have a lot of talent
thank you. I,
and you've accomplished a lot in this last however long you've been on YouTube. It's really impressive when you get right down to it.
well, I appreciate that. And as far as the talent goes, I'm going to quote, I know I keep talking about it, I'm going to quote Pappy again. I'm learning how to hide my mistakes, but the real truth is that I've been blessed with guys like Jason and all the guys, Brian, Fafa, again Fred, all these guys, old Tom, just different guys that have helped me to not make some of the mistakes that I would have made had I not had their input. These guys, this community as a whole, has just been so helpful and accepting and open armed, if you will, yourself included. having me on. Like, I'm a new guy, and you're having me on your channel, and this is a pretty big podcast or interview thing or whatever you call this, Josh. You're well known for doing this, and you've interviewed some great builders. So I'm flattered to be on here. So if I haven't said it already, thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, Jason Hanscom. I can't say enough how much help he's been. Uh, they opened some doors for me and mostly show me what not to do, so I don't trip over my own feet, if you will. And I thank each and every one of them as often as I can for helping me out with that. But yeah, we've gone from 0 to we're at right at 800 subs now. And I think we're coming up on a year. We're not a year yet, but we're coming up on a year.
Yeah, I mean that's a big commitment, you know.
Well, if I could share a little bit with you, I I spent a lot of time in the evenings before I started getting back into hobby, and I would either be drinking out at the bar or hanging out at the bar and that sort of stuff, and that got a little old for me. I'm getting into my 50s, and I don't need to be doing that anymore. So I had to refocus my attention. And when I did, I'm the kind of guy. Who was it? Somebody was saying the other day. Jason KRD was saying when he jumps into something, he jumps in both feet. Doesn't care how deep the water is. He's going in both feet. Well, that's what I did. Now, like everybody else, I did this hobby, back in the late '70s, early '80s, and then some into the '90s. But as a kid, I never really did anything, what I'm doing now. Never mind what some of these other guys are doing, but. So it was easy for me to get back into it. I had like 16 kits that I'd been dragging around since the 90s. And I started out with those, and now I got a whole bunch of empty boxes on the shelf behind me.
You must know what this means. He's a white chocolate covered peanut. That must be something between you and Brian.
No, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm sweet. I don't know. Thank you, Brian. I am sweet. Thank you. You're too good to me.
Right.
I genuinely don't know. I would think that if I was in your shoes, I'd say that's an inside joke. But if it's inside, it's got to be so inside that I don't even know what it means.
Okay. Oh, mini M&M. Okay.
Eminem, the Eminem. That's right, Eminem.
Okay.
Mini Mike.
That explains a lot.
It does explain a lot, doesn't it? Eminem. That's right. We were talking about that the other day. On one of the lives that I was Eminem. That's another thing. Senior was good about giving everybody a nickname, and unfortunately, I did not get a nickname from Senior. I would have embraced Mini Mike much better had it come from Senior. But the backstory behind the Mini Mike is kind of it's funny, but when you're standing next to, and I don't know how many of y'all have ever met them, but when you're standing next to Brian and Fred, everybody's mini. I mean, you're talking about guys that are getting up there above 6.5 feet, right? So at my 5'6" self, Brian goes live, and he's holding the camera up to his face, and he's showing him and Fred, and I'm standing next to him. You can't even see the top of my head. So he finally dips the camera down enough to where you can see me standing next to him. And at the time, I didn't have a nickname, so I said my nickname should be Whole Head, because I'm a whole head shorter than these guys. And that turned into Mini Mike.
I've heard that about. There's another one. Jason's just as tall as them too, or a little shorter. And then I think Tom Rambler 69. He's like 6 something.
He's I've met him. I was fortunate enough to meet him when I met Brian and Fred at JaxCon, and he's up there with those guys. I look up to him and anyway because of his building skills, but I'm looking up to him to talk to him. That's for sure.
Right. It's like I don't know. I'm barely 5'10". Yeah, so it's like I understand.
I'm out. Yeah, you got 4 inches on me. I'm 5'6", but when I was riding bulls, that was a good thing. But now, not so much.
Right.
Now that, of course, like I said, I'm 53 now, and I enjoy my snacks. So I'm equally as around as I am tall.
Oh man. Yeah,
Well,
BG is a giant. Yeah, that says a lot
yeah,
from a
he is. He is. BG is a big, tall dude. I didn't realize how tall he was until uh, Charlie just posted some pictures, and Jason and BG posted some pictures on Facebook. They all got together, and I didn't realize how tall he was until I saw those pictures.
right, right.
But all great guys. I'm fortunate enough to be able to chat with BG every once in a while. He makes some time for me, and he's a really nice guy. He's been very, very kind. You know, like I said, this whole community, what a great community to be involved with. You know, I mean, a lot of great people. Jason from KRD, he and I have become friends. We talk both on the phone and, Messenger and on the Hangouts and whatnot. Another great guy. Fafa, I'm calling him, seems like at least once a day to ask him a stupid question about a model. Papa Z, same way. I don't chat with him as much, but see him on the lives. What a great resource for information if you want to know something about something. Those guys are. If Jeff don't know, he can find out. Or if his Grail Hunter status
You
is
mean
just
Jeff
that.
calls Rick to find the answer?
Is that what he does? See, you got me. I didn't know that. See,
I'm
yeah.
sure that's what happens.
Is that what
But
it is? I
I'm
don't. That doesn't surprise me. But I'm not sure if Papa Z can talk to Jeff with Jeff adding all those R's to everything. I mean, it's just an Arier and his Amander and his, he got. I told him no. I said, and Jeff lives in Vermont. I don't know if he's originally from there, but I know that he lives in Vermont. And I talked to my cousins that I was born in Vermont, so. But I talked to my cousins that still live up there, and I told him the other day on the live, I said, "You're not pronouncing Vermont right for somebody that's from Vermont." And he was like, "Well, how do you pronounce it?" I said, "If you're from Vermont, you pronounce it Vermont." He's like, "What that?" I said, "It's not even it's a noise. It's not even a word. It's just a noise you make to say that's where you're from."
right. No, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's
So,
cool.
so we've been on about an hour.
Okay.
Did you have any questions for me?
Well, like I said, I wanted to thank you first for having me on. Second, maybe a little bit of backstory about you. I don't know much about you. I've watched some of your videos, impressed with all that. But how did you get started in the hobby?
So, son's 11. Okay.
All right.
The little guy you see in the first part of this
Yep.
video.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah. So basically, what happened was he was born 3 months early and under 2 pounds.
Oh wow.
So for a year and a half, I was basically at home, and then work and
Sure.
burning the candle at both ends, and then I lit the middle of that candle on fire when not getting any sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I lost a really high-paying job, and I needed something to do, to just keep, my head straight for
Sure.
that. That's what got me back into the hobby.
Okay. Cool.
The YouTube thing, it's been, basically just something I could do at home while wife and son are, doing their thing. So that's basically how this all kind of started and got back into
Yeah.
it.
Cool. Cool. Well, sorry to hear. Well, I say sorry to hear about your son being born that early, but I see he's doing well now. So congratulations and thank God for that.
Right.
My next question would be, what is your area that do you do just automotive? I know you spoke of different figures and whatnot. What would you say is first your favorite uh, genre, if you will, and what are some of the things? And follow that up with maybe what are some of the things that you've done that you're the most proud of?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. So, oh, I'm not just car guy, plane, figure. I do almost everything. Um, Even miniature figures. All if it's cool looking, I'll at least try it. And then I got into 3D printing, and that just became a whole fucking rabbit hole. That
I've heard that. That's why you don't see a printer in my collection.
right. But it's fun. I find that way more fun I mean, when you can build stuff like that, print stuff out like that,
Right.
and stuff like that, and build it all together, you know, I'm not, and I think that's some of the reason I don't have many subscribers either, because you don't see the same thing all the time.
Right. No.
It, you know, I'm not just a car guy. I'm not just a military guy. I'm not, you know.
Well, there's something to be said for what you're doing. You're literally taking something from a bottle and turning it into something that you can hold in your hand, whether it be the paint, whether it be the resin, or whatever. You're creating from nothing, and you're starting with nothing. I mean, sure, you got a file or whatever to work with, but you got to get all that. So that's cool. And of all the things you have made, maybe not your favorite, but what would be the top 5 things that you have created, made, painted, whatever, built that you're the most proud of, or stick out the most in your mind anyway?
So I'm gonna say the Warlord Titan. That's probably 1 or 2. The Deep Space Nine space station. The Batmobile, the '89 Batmobile that me and my son kind of put together and painted it red instead of black.
That's different. That's cool.
There's this thing, right? I pointed out. The Darth Vader.
Oh, check it out. That is super cool. Got the lightsaber and everything. That is cool, man.
Right. That's by far one of the coolest things.
Now, did you create that yourself as far as make it with the resin 3D printer?
And then probably one of my better paint jobs is this thing. The elf.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. That is very cool. Very nice, man. Good job. That does look good. That's something I could never get into. When I say I couldn't get into, I could never. I don't believe I had the skills to do is that flesh coloring and getting the shadows right and the different layers and whatever. Takes a lot of talent to do that. So hats off to you, my friend. And one more. Let me see. I've heard this question before. I've not been asked it, but I've heard it before. So I want to ask you, if there was in any genre, if there was something that's not out there that you would like to either get a file for or get a kit for, any of one of your genres, what is the one thing that's not available that you would like to see available to be able to do a model of?
Wow. That's friggin' tough.
Isn't it?
Believe it or not, I actually would like to see an ambulance.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, just because it seems like they have a cop car, fire truck. That would be one. Because I've done a cop car. I've done the fire truck. I've done.
Right. I know that, in fact, I've got one too, and it's been repopped a bunch of times. And Fafa, this would be your more area of expertise than mine. But I know Johan offered a ambulance back in the day, and I don't know if it's the same mold or whatever, but it's been repopped as the Ghostbusters wagon. I've got one that's the surf shark or whatever, and I know. Yeah, I don't. But I get what you're saying though. One that is specifically an ambulance and maybe not a '59 Cadillac.
But you know what I mean? Like, they have the old style, like the Cadillacs, right?
Right.
But they don't have a current ambulance.
Right. I see that. I can see that. That would be cool. I agree with you. That would be a cool one to have, especially if you had a '70s era cop car or an '80s, '90s, whatever. You had you could put all 3 of them together. If you had the fire truck and you had the ambulance and you had the cop car, you could run them all together. That makes sense.
Right. There's a couple other things in sci-fi that I think would look cool, but it's kind of tough to, it comes down to what you can make. But with 3D printing now, I mean, they're getting more and more out there, and it's it's cool to see. But yeah, I mean, if that's probably one off the top of my head. I could probably come up with some others way down the road, but
Right. Yeah, it's just kind of a spur of the moment question as well. So I get
right.
that. My personal one uh, for to answer that question was, and I kind of generalize it, but they don't make any cool AMC kits anymore. I'm a huge American Motors Company fan. I love anything American Motors. Even the old Gremlins and the Pacer. I'm building a Pacer that I'm putting a Hellcat in and doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it. But I would like for them to not necessarily repop because I don't know what's available and what's not. But I would like to see some new, because the only thing that's available is like the Johan stuff. So you're talking Johan, however you pronounce it. But you're talking big money kits. Like there's a Rebel out there that I want worse than the world. And you're talking $150 for a kit, $200 for a kit, and that's awfully hard for me to want to justify. So for my answer to that question would be somebody like AMT, Round Two, whoever, to come up with some AMC kits, something different besides the Gremlin. I know the Gremlin's still out there, but and maybe one or
So
two Pacers.
so round two is probably where I pay attention a lot because I have the subscription to their YouTube thing.
Mhm.
But it seems like they're supposed to be coming out with a bunch of Star Wars stuff and Star Trek stuff. And they've kind of they'll put one out and then it's like they drop the ball. They put one, it's like they drop the ball. And I get you got to have time to create all that stuff too, but I don't know.
Literally, I'm sorry, literally this morning, getting stuff together and checking out this and that. I too am on there. They just released the new releases for May, and I watched the video, and they openly admitted, for those of you that are waiting for the kits that got released last month, we've got to be, so they know at least they're getting the feedback and they're addressing it to the point where they're even saying, hey, we know we dropped the ball, and we're trying to do our best. If nothing else, they're doing that. I mean, you can't. And I've heard different people talk, about this company and that company and this kit and that kit. I would not discourage any company from making any kit, because if they take it away, if they're like, oh, it's not going to sell, then it's gone. It's gone forever. You know what I mean? And you don't want that. It's not good for the community. Just because, I mean, that GTO comes to mind. I think it's a 67 GTO from AMT. Everybody said that was a horrible kit to put together. The next thing you know, there's people that don't know any better. That you maybe just getting into the hobby automatically won't buy it because so and so on YouTube said it was a horrible kit. Well, I watched Jason and a bunch of others take that information and put an awesome kit together using that kit. Sure, it's not the easiest one to build, but are we assemblers or are we builders? You know what I mean? If you're just going to assemble it, that's one thing. But if you're a builder, you're going to take time to sand it down. You're going to take time to fill in what you need to make it right. You're probably going to do custom work to it anyway. So have fun with it.
Right.
Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
I don't disagree with that at all. Right. But it's
Everybody
crazy.
has their opinion. It is crazy. Everybody has their opinion. I just would hate to see anything that's out there lost forever. We've had enough of that in the past. And I'd hate for anybody that was, getting into it, or any companies that are into it, to lose sight or lose interest because something's not selling because people on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever saying that it's crap. So if it's gone, guys. That's what we got to remember.
Yeah. So Brian, yes, the answer to that is yes. Those are the ones I did with Red Dragon, Gilbert Mondragon, not Gilly. Gilly would like to participate in that, I'm sure, but no, he's not one of those. And that's been a super cool thing. I like on the 18th, they're gonna be doing another. I'm gonna jump in and work on. I'm gonna be working on this guy while they're doing their new paint thing. But yeah, we've been doing that for 2 years now, and the 2-year anniversary is May 14th. So we're gonna start a new figure for that. And that's been a cool process. I've learned so much with those guys. It's crazy at the end of the day. crazy at the end of the day what we've been able to accomplish. But that's why I also try to promote figure painters on this, because I think if you're really wanting to get better at paint jobs, paint a figure. You're gonna get better at all the interior in cars and all that kind of stuff. It's
With the
it's
de- with
crazy.
the Yeah, with the amount of detail that's on a figure, you're going to learn how to handle a brush. That's for sure. Or going to make a mess, one or the other. I probably would be in the mess category, but uh, yeah, I can see where it makes perfect sense, because you're going to have to get down in there and get that small stuff, shade, and get it right. So yeah,
Well,
I
like
agree.
dashes on cars, right? I mean, there's so much figure painting stuff in just that little section in the car kit. If you can get better at painting a mini, and at the moment I don't think I have one standing here, but like if you can get better at painting a mini, you're going to be so much better at painting the inside of a car. And sometimes that can be the difference between first and second place. And you can tell the difference on some of those cars that they've painted figures before and the ones that haven't.
Right.
It's just
The
crazy.
the layering, the shadowing, the all that, to where it looks like it's supposed to. I can see that. I agree with you.
Right.
Another
Yeah.
question, just one more I just thought of, and it could be a quick answer, but you're up there in the northwest part of the country, and I'm down here in the southeast. I know we have a fair amount of shows down there. What is the show scene slash club scene like in the northwest part of the country?
Um, Give me just a second.
Yep.
Okay, I can deal with that later. So the Pacific Northwest, right, is horrible.
Right.
For shows. I'm not even gonna kid. Compared to like where you're at. Like, I mean, realistically right now, like from what, 2-3 weeks ago till what, the start of July, there's a show pretty much every week within a
If you wanted to
couple
travel the
hours.
southeast, yeah, you could probably hit, obviously different size shows, but I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that you could hit a show somewhere every weekend.
Right. Like I said, at least that's the impression I have on the West Coast. But on the West Coast, there's the Seattle Renton Show at the Air Museum. They promote that like crazy every year. That was just a couple weeks ago. There's the show in Portland, Albany, and then the area I'm in, it's just so expensive to rent places. It's crazy. Like we just did a show in the town I live in, and it's a pretty small show, but we were able to get a bunch of the other clubs within a couple hours to come. And we were going to do it in Eugene, but we're not spending $1,200 to rent a thing for the whole weekend, basically, is what we were told. You can't just rent it out for like six hours. You have to rent it out for the whole weekend, and damn that.
Yeah, right. That's a lot of
That's
money.
just stupid. Even the hotels are the same way. It's for 4 or 5 hours. It's a ridiculous amount. It's like $800-900. That's like my mortgage payment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but then you got to charge people to get in there to get your money back, and then they don't want to come because they got to pay to get in. So I mean, more than just the modelers. I get that. I don't know how it works. I've never started a show, ran a show, or even been involved with the logistics of a show, but I do know, and I don't know if you've thought of it here. Down here, there's a couple shows that are actually held in churches. I don't know if that would make a difference for you guys up there. JaxCon is held in a very large church, or was this year. I don't know if there's a rental difference there, or what goes on. One of our club members, our club's meetings is held in a church, and what the club does at the end of the year is donate some money back to the church, but they don't actually charge us. But that is a club meeting, not an event where I'm at. But I didn't know if maybe it's something to look into. I have no idea what the logistics of that are, but it might be something to look into.
Yeah, one of the guys, he actually flies airplanes. So he has the Air Museum here in town. So he was able to get a pretty good discount at the library
Okay.
and community center.
Okay.
So we were able to get into there for like basically one day for like under $100,
That's
which
fair.
is nothing really.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, churches, but the problem is there's a lot of the churches around here that are super small.
Oh.
Like they're meant for like, it seems like they're meant for like 60, 70 people. And then you cram in vendor tables, and then you got to start moving the chairs out of the way, or the pews, however you want to call them. I'm not really a church guy, so, but, and it just becomes, it's just one of those things. It's crazy.
Yeah, I forget up there in the Pacific Northwest, it ain't like the Southeast. Southeast, we've got a church on every other corner, and it's by God a biggin. You know what I mean?
Right,
We got
right.
yeah, it's definitely different down here. Having come from Vermont, it's very much the similar up there as it is to where you're at, where you don't have a church on every corner. There's not a gas station on every corner. You're gonna drive from point A to point B, and it's gonna be a minute before you get there, unless you hit like a Rutland or something like that. But there's some space in between with nothing in it, so, which is probably a good thing. I know sometimes down here, this little town that I lived in is Ocala, and it's been the largest growing city in the country for years, and it just keeps growing. It's gone from it was horse country when I got here in '85, and now it's not far. In my opinion, it's not far from being in Orlando. It's time for me to get out of here. I'm headed to Tennessee, Western North Carolina. I want to go up there where it's a little more rural, I guess.
Right. No, yeah, it's just coming up with the places for that is just ridiculous. I know some of the places, but then you talk about outdoor weather where it's,
Again, the Pacific Northwest where it's raining.
right. You're either wet or it's 90 plus degrees outside. So it's, and I don't know how the club scene is at your place, but it's a lot of older people. Older people don't want to be outside in 90-degree weather for hours on hours. They'll have a stroke, right?
Right, that's the truth. We are blessed to have two clubs here local, and one of them's I think I was telling you earlier, is a true, full on IPMS. It's mostly aircraft and military. They don't balk at us. They don't balk at us car guys at all. They welcome us with open arms. But there is another club that is strictly cars and trucks, and so we got both. We're blessed with both. But yeah, I would say on average, I'm 53 years old, and I'm probably one of the youngest guys there, and sometimes the youngest guy. So yeah, I can relate. We got a lot, and that's something that like what you're doing here, and trying to get young people in. Maybe that's a question we can all ask ourselves, both everybody in the chat and you and I. What can we do as individuals to get young people involved in the hobby? And it's not a question you can answer, but it's a thought that you can think of.
I have the answer to that is we need to stop being judgmental on the tabletop community.
Okay, yeah, if that's what I feel like whatever it takes is you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be judgmental of anybody's work. It's all their art, and it's perceived how they like it. I'm not against competitions, but I certainly helpful criticism is a lot different than negativity. You know what I
Right.
mean? And there is some negativity out there, and it's the real world. People are going to be mean. Put your big boy pants on, but at the same time, as a whole, people should be accepting and kind to other people. I say it every day on my video, keep on modeling and be kind to each other. And
Right.
sometimes not saying nothing at all is being kind, because you don't have to express your opinion. It's just like anything else. You can change channel, walk away or whatever you gotta do.
And what I really mean by that is the hobby is slowly changing with this younger generation, because they want the social aspect of the hobby. They don't mind the shows. They don't mind, that part of it. It's the sitting at home working on stuff by yourself. They'd rather go to a build night where you're putting figures together or playing a tabletop game that has a modeling aspect to it.
Right, where they can feed off each other, and Lord knows in today's day and age we need to get young people out from their bedrooms, out from behind their video game clickers, and out into out into any kind of community, whether be modeling or not. But so yeah, we definitely should be encouraging that. Myself and one of my club members, in fact, he's got the space. We're going to start doing, I say we, it's more him than me, but he's going to start doing a thing where he has a storage unit that's kind of like a garage, but it's a storage unit. It's got a bathroom and an air conditioner and all this. Um, where we're going to go over there once a week and have a little, I'll call it a hangout, but it's a hangout there where we're going to be, he'll have 4 or 5 airbrushes set up, and he's an amazing artist to where he does canvas work and all this. So he can maybe have an airbrushing class, and then people practice with the airbrush, or have a build, bring what you're working on. Let's work on it together. And I think that's an awesome idea, just to get people together and exchange ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunately one of the things that is hindering the community, is the 3D printed side of it too. Because a lot of
Expand
people
on
are
that. Yeah, I'm going to say expand.
so against that.
Mhm.
And it's about computers and technology, which is where the younger generation's at.
I've been asked this question. In fact, I think it was Fafa that posted the question and was looking for some responses. Having come from, being the kid in the late 70s where you got the kit, and maybe if dad had a rattle can down in the cellar, or if you were lucky enough to have a spray can around somewhere, but you were painting bodies, the whole thing, with either what paint came with it or the little 50-cent bottle of paint you got at the variety store, and when brushing it on. And from there to where we're at, mind you, that's kind of, I was kind of getting out when airbrushes were started getting popular way back, late 90s or whatever. And way before, at least way before I ever saw anything resin, certainly before I saw anything 3D. And I think even metal etch, if it was out, I didn't see it. And to go from that to what I ran into 2 years ago when I started getting back into hobby, what a change. And for me, it's just like anything else. It's going to evolve. If you want to build it straight out of the box or scratch build your own stuff, you certainly can do that. And it certainly takes a lot of talent to do that. But in my opinion, don't take away from the guy that's doing something on 3D, because you're not thinking about the time he spent or the money he spent to get a file that made all that come together. It's work, and it's fun. And if I'm being frank, I don't think you can compare a standard kit box out of the box, especially the motors, compared to a 3D printed motor. I don't think there's any comparison. Even today, if you compared apple to apples of a brand new AMT kit and a brand new printed motor, I don't see the carburetors alone will smoke the rest of them. The 3D printed carburetors, you can see the Venturis in a 3D printed carburetor. You're lucky if the backside of the carburetor of a kit is flat enough to glue it to the intake. I mean, it's just the way it is. So I'm all about 3D.
So you've seen a lot of the Iceman stuff. So on the motor side of it, so you have an idea what I'm talking about. The detail in 3D printing is so much better and so much more advanced than casting it.
Amen.
That,
Amen. I agree. I agree 100%.
That's where I believe we're 5 to 10 years away from not having model kits produced anymore. You are gonna have to get a 3D printer, and you're gonna be printing out stuff. That's how, just in the last 2 years, 3D printing is advanced that much.
I won't
can't
argue with you, but I hope it.
imagine.
I won't argue with you because your logic is very sound. I just hope it never comes to that. I hope guys like Round Two and these companies stay around. Revell, these guys have been around a long time, and they've created this hobby, if you will. I hope they're able. Maybe they shift the gears and start producing printed models, so we don't have to buy a printer and do it at home. But again, like you said, if I feel like it should be if it's out there and especially when it comes to competition, if it's available to everybody, then by God, it's your choice to either get it or not. You know what I mean? And if it's on a table, it's on a table that way. Everybody has access to it. If you want to use it or not, it's up to you.
Right. But I truly see that. I truly do, because it costs so much to produce all those kits that aren't moving. But
That's
if you
true.
can
You see it.
produce a
Yeah.
file and throw it up on a website, and then you just go get the web and then you print it out yourself, they're it's gonna save money.
Yeah, like I said, your logic is 100% sound. I hope it doesn't get to that because it's still cool to have your hobby stores that have it because that'll eliminate the hobby store guy or at least put him in a pickle. And that'll definitely get rid of like the Hobby Lobbies as far as model kits at Hobby Lobbies and all that. I mean, you still have your paint supplies and all that stuff, but I can see if it's all 3D and it's not getting boxed up, you're just buying it from the printer. Then they're not going to carry the acrylics or this. They're not going to carry near as much model related stuff because they don't sell the models themselves. So, but again, who knows? You never really know what's going to happen. I hope that 3D continues to grow and gets better. I'm cool with that. I've got some, I got a lot of Iceman motors. I've got a whole bunch of them up here hanging up, and I've got the Maverick that he's got. I'm waiting for that. What do they call it? The tea bucket thing there. What do they call it? Oh crap, I can't call the name of it now, but it's got that old school tea bucket that's coming out, and somebody's probably telling me what it is in the live now. But
Yeah.
I hope to get one of those, and so I'm 3D kit box. Whatever comes out, I'm all about it. And like I said, if they were to print out some AMC 3D printed cars, I'd be one of the first ones to buy. I got that Northeast modified that I'm doing for my group build. I got from Chris Sumner at Skunky model Scale Speedworks, and that thing is amazing. It's a little bit of work sand it down, but that's 3D. You got to sand it down anyway. But it's so detailed and nice. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll all be here to see what happens. That's the biggest thing, and we all still have the right to choose which way we want to go.
Yeah, it's crazy at the end of the day, all the options we truly have.
Yeah.
But I think 3D printing kits out is going to be somewhere in our future.
I believe you. I believe 100%. Like I said, there's the Maverick that in Iceman for just one, and who's like I said, Scale Speedworks. He's printing out kits. There's a lot of people already got some out there. The Maverick that I got from Iceman, it's a complete kit now. It doesn't have a motor in it, but you can put a motor in it, and that's what I plan to do with one of mine. Is put a motor in, put one of his motors in it, and make it work. There's all kinds of stuff you can do.
I don't think it'll kill the hobby. I really don't think 3D printing will kill the hobby. We're still going to do it. There's still enough people out there with kits that if you want a kit, you're going to be able to buy a kit. But, that's
By itself, I don't think it'll kill the hobby. And even if it was to go all 3D, God, hopes it doesn't go all 3D. I don't think that would kill the hobby, but I know a lot of people that would probably get out of it, but who knows? You might open the doors for other people. But and you're not wrong, Josh, in that there is a crap ton of models out there that people have been collecting that are still be available. It would drive the price of those. All of a sudden, these AMT kits that people don't like or wouldn't buy or could get at Hobby Lobby now for $15-20, that would be $100 kit and $200 kit and keep climbing. But
well, I mean, think about how much a kit is now.
Yeah.
Like you go to Hobby Lobby, you're spending $40 for a kit. And I mean, they do have their sale once a month or whatever it is.
You catch them at the right time, you're paying 28 to 32 for a kit. As a kid, I'd go to the variety store and pick up kits. And I'm old, but I'm not that old. You know, $5, 350 if it'd been on the shelf for a little while. You know, even back in the '90s when I was buying them NASCAR kits, they were $10, $9.99. I told you about this guy whose kits I'm going through now. I'm finding stickers from KB toy stores back in the day, 1/16 scale kits that sold for 1995. But again, that's '80s money and early '90s money. It's not 2024 money.
Right. Right.
Yep.
We will be the last generation of kit builders. If you don't have anything on the shelves, no kids will ever see the opportunity to build it. I mean, that's a good argument, right?
It is.
I don't disagree with that. But, unfortunately, we're talking about the younger generation and what the younger generation's on the computer, and you can go find, and I literally mean this with all due respect, you can find anything to print online. So
I don't disagree. I just hope that there's a good commingling of both. You know what I mean? You still have your plastic kits on the shelf that sell well enough for the Hobby Lobbies and the hobby stores to stay in business and be able to sell the accessories. I think I've not been in the hobby business per se, and that all I've ever done is bought them. But I would dare say they're much like everything else. Those are what you use to get the people in the door, and you make your money off selling the accessories, the paints, the thinners, the brushes, the airbrushes, that sort of stuff is where your markup is as a hobby store owner. But and I'm sure there's some markup on the kits as well. But at the same time, you sell a kit and you sell 4 bottles of paint and a couple tubes of glue to go with it. You've made a little bit of money. But hopefully they can come up with some sort of commingling. I would not be against 3D stuff being on the shelf at Hobby Lobby, but I'd be upset if the plastic stuff or the styrene stuff went away. Best of both worlds. I mean, best of both worlds, right? Time will tell. That's one thing for sure. As long as we keep pumping air, we'll find out what's gonna happen, and hopefully we can, as the community, can help direct it in the way that we want it to go or where we think is best for it. Because in the end, as a community, uh, companies are going to sell and make stuff that people buy. If they don't
right,
buy it, they're not gonna make it anymore. So let's
right,
hope that we can get the best of both worlds. These printer guys can get their stuff, and these, kit guys can get their stuff too. There's definitely enough. I had no idea 2 years ago when I got back in this hobby. Remember, 79, 80s, I'm building kits in my bedroom alone, and I maybe knew one or two kids that I went to school with that built kits. Then I come back, here it is 2022, and I can come back into hobby, and YouTube exists, and I Google model cars on YouTube, and the first thing that comes up is Lucas C's page. Right, I'm sorry, on Facebook, and the first thing that comes up is Lucas C's page, and I look, and he's got 40,000 subscribers. I'm like, I didn't know there was 40,000 model builders in the world, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And again, it led to meeting some really good new friends and getting involved in a great community, which I'm very proud to be a part of. But yeah, I never knew that. I thought, there's just a few of us out there. But if you keep it on the shelves and people buy it, then they'll keep making it. If you make a widget and nobody buys it, you stop making widgets.
right. The younger generation also is not very into cars. I think that building cars is an extension of liking the one-to-one.
Agreed. Agreed.
I don't
The car.
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
But that's also why, when it leads back to what you were saying, Josh, that's also why we need to be, as a community, more receptive to the, what you call them, tabletop figure
Right,
stuff, because it's going to open up some doors for those people to maybe get involved. But listen, they don't make 69 Camaros anymore. They don't make, the cars today are not the cool cars they were back then. Or maybe it's just the generation, I mean, I'm Generation X, we wanted that 69 Camaro. We wanted the 57 Chevys. We wanted all them Mopars because, Mopars are Mopar, no car. I'm just saying, but, that 69 Roadrunner, the Dukes of Hazzard came out. Everybody wanted a General Lee. You had to have a General Lee. Whether you
right,
liked the flag or not, you had to have the General Lee, man. That was a cool car. That thing flies, And I don't think there's any, the whole. I don't think Mark's wrong in that, or ELH is wrong in that the generation didn't grow up with these cool cars, and the few that did are a lot of the Japanese drifting type cars. And I think in the last 20 years, at least in my experience, that genre has grown as well. As far as
Right.
cars that are drifting cars and some of that 3D stuff. They're doing a lot of the drifting, tire smoking, that sort of thing. I've got one of the Hoonigan Mustangs, and I think that's the coolest thing in the world, and that's 3D printed. And that's the coolest car in the world, all-wheel drive. I plan on buying more of those and putting different bodies on them just because they're freaking cool.
So, Jeff, 3D printing does mean more work at times. I agree with that and I disagree with that because you still got to do the same amount of prep work even on a plastic kit. I don't think it's any more or less than, you know.
If I may, and I don't have all the experience in the world, and yes, I am spoiled to Iceman and guys like VCG and guys like Chris who do quality 3D printing. If you get a crappy one, it's a lot of work. I won't mention any names, but I got some bodies from online that were 3D printed. I got some other stuff that I found out the difference between filament and 3D printed, which I didn't know, but the filament stuff, you guys, you can have that, but I don't want nothing more to do with that. But this is sure enough 3D printed. And I don't know if he didn't, and I don't know a lot about 3D printing, Josh, so you can correct me, but something about the layers and I could take my thumb and run it and literally feel every layer of the body and the side of it. So I think what Fafa's getting at, and if I'm speaking for him, it depends a lot on who the printer is. It is rough. Yeah, it was rough. But
Right.
like again, yeah, I don't have in your defense, defending Fafa in that, depends on the printer, but in your defense with like VCG, and yeah, I keep bringing up Iceman because he's my sponsor, but it's true. There's no more work in building one of their motors than there is. In fact, there's less work in building we'll say a good resin motor compared to even a good kit motor. If nothing else,
So,
most of the transmissions are printed in one piece, so you don't have that seam going down the middle.
so I think I understand what Jeff's trying to ask here, or say here. But even on the resin side, you still have to use filler primer. Whether it's PLA or resin, you still have to use filler primer because there's still that Zard. They're the lines basically that run, but resin is a little different, but it's still there, just not as profound.
Right.
And you still have, you still have to use filler primer at the end of the day, or you're going to see the texture in the motor, which, sometimes isn't bad. I'm not going to lie. So, but anyway, man, we've been an hour and 43 minutes. Did you have any more questions for me?
No, I think I'm good. Like I said, other than thanking you for having this new guy on, I definitely appreciate that. I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for chiming in and getting your opinions and not beating me up too bad. I haven't been all over the chat, but at least they didn't beat me up too bad. I didn't have Brian come in and try to make me cry, so I'm good about that. But again, thanks for having me on, Josh. I appreciate it. It's a good time. And thanks, chat. And thanks to the whole community for accepting an old fat boy from Florida and allowing me to be a part of it.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Yeah, it was super cool. We were able to make this work. I think you had a show yesterday, right?
I was supposed to go to a show yesterday, yes, but we got involved with model kits and I was helping him out instead. So, and if I'm completely honest, the week before that, when I first found out about this model kit stash that I'm helping to get rid of, I may or may not have spent my money that I was going to spend to go to the show with. So
Right.
I may or may not have been broke.
Mark, I do like that.
Yeah.
I do like that idea. But here's the thing. You need to throw that towards Fred at his 10 questions or whatever at a hobby show. That would be a great discussion for him. Because he gets a lot more of the like Rambler 69, BG, Luca. There's a couple others I'm forgetting, but he gets a lot more of like, or Mark Batson is another one, Jason. So they have that's where that would come in handy, because I could get Fred, him, I could get you to come on, but you need more of the more and more experienced guys, I think, for that question. That's just my opinion. But I think Fred is the one that needs to do that one at a hobby show or at a show.
And it wouldn't
That
hurt
would
to
be
have guys with conflicting opinions, like we were talking about before we went on camera, for somebody that believes A and somebody that believes C, to get them together and come up with a B. You know what I mean? As far as, you don't, just because you are against 3D printing or you're for all about 3D printing, you get together and you find a happy medium, and that's something that you can do throughout the hobby at different levels. And get those minds together, even if it's, you don't think kids should be involved and you do think, I mean, whatever you want to talk about, you could get together, come up with something that works and is productive for the hobby as a whole. And that would be something that I know I would help take part in, or be a part of, or at least watch if something like that was going on. Because whatever we can do to keep this hobby going, we don't want to end up being dinosaurs. Because eventually, guys, I've heard the hobby's dying. I don't believe the hobby's dying. I think it's changing, and some of the dinosaurs are not wanting to change with it. I would agree with that, but
right.
I don't know that it's dying. It may not be what it was in the '70s and '80s, but it's also, if you're in the automotive world and you don't, like me, I know the sci-fi world exists. I just don't know nothing about it. So if I was basing it off what I see, then I would say it was dying too. But there's other genres and other things. This whole war game thing, that's taken off big time, especially with the younger community. So why not, let them hitch their little red wagon to the guys like Fred and Old Tom and BG, these guys that have been around a long time. Let them use their experience to help pull them up, and in the meantime, they're pulling us up by getting involved in what we do.
Right. So just the tabletop thing, right? You'll say how many years in your area, but in my area, there's one hobby shop, one Hobby Lobby, and one Michael's. Okay, there is 8 of the tabletop stores in my area.
How do you
It
argue
is
with that? But you can't.
absolutely insane, and you can't go in those stores without at least 5 to 10 people in there playing a game, or putting stuff together, or painting, or
Yeah.
And it's not just the younger generation, it's 8 to 80.
Yeah. And it's a new world per se. I mean, obviously it's still in the hobby world, but they may not know some of the things that guys that have been doing this since the '60s know. Like I said, if they hooked their little red wagon to those guys and showed them about different shows and different, whatever they needed to learn, whatever they needed to know to learn to grow their hobby, in return, they're inevitably going to roll over into our hobby. If we isolate them, then we don't get anything from them, and that goes
Right.
on both sides of the board. If we try to commingle, we literally are doing just that, commingle, and doing nothing but making both hobbies better.
Well, I agree.
We give to them our wisdom; they give to us their youth. I mean, whatever it is, the give and take is, we could do that. I'm the same way. In my town, I have one hobby shop, one Michael's, one Joanne's, and like you said, there's a place called Red Beard or whatever. It's one of those where you go to get the army painter paints and all that. And there's 2 or 3 of them in my town that I can think of right off the top of my head. And you're right, when you walk in there, they've got the space figures and they've got they're in there playing their little games. I don't know nothing about it, but I go in there just to check it out, see what it's about.
Right. But it's that social aspect that the younger generation is attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting at home just building a model car kit by yourself is not what they're interested in.
They're building at their core, at their base, they're building for a different. They're building to socialize. Where we a lot of times, especially, can't speak for everybody, but I know I can speak for myself. When I speak, especially at my age, sometimes I do want to be here at my table by myself, just listen to some music or a movie in the background. But I find now, especially having getting involved live more and more and more, it's me turning the lives on and listening to that because it's like-minded talk. So therefore, I get it
Right.
entertains me while I'm building. And then I get to put my ugly mug on the screen every once in a while, like you did for me.
Right. All right, man. I will talk to you in a minute. I'm going to end this. Thank you for coming on. I'm really glad we were able to make this work today.
Me too. Me too.
And I will see you in a minute. All
All
right.
right, well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Josh, chat, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Y'all be good. Be good at it. Be kind to each other. And as always, keep on modeling. And hey, Dart, if you're watching, there's a big old thumbs up for you, buddy.
Nice. All right, everybody. So next week is gonna be a fun week. Not gonna lie. Charlie Mack and Jeff C is gonna be on next week. I've gotta check in with them to make sure what day, but I want to say we said Saturday. I'm still hoping that it is Saturday. I'm not gonna lie. I have things going on next Sunday, but if it ends up happening, that's when we'll do it. But Jeff C and Charlie Mack are going to be on together next week. I promise I will try to at least get in a couple words as we go along, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. So I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.